Mitch, go ahead and show your list.
All right, bro. I'm going off the top of my head, as always. I have no previous thought of anything. Can you see the thing?
Yes, we can.
All right. So I have no idea what I'm going to do here. So let's just start off with the Atlanta Falcons, an Ultras team. Again, shout out to Ultra. He's the man. All right. Atlanta Falcons. I feel like, okay, they are, I'm not as high as Ultra is, but I do feel like this is a quality team. I do think they take a step up from last year. I do think their offense is going to be improved even more so than last year where they're very explosive, but I think that offensive line really helps. Their defense, I think just getting back some of the injured guys that didn't play a lot of the season will help a lot. And I know that there is some weakness there on the defensive line and a little bit with the depth in the secondary, but I do feel like with their offense complementing them, they can be a borderline playoff team. So I'm going to place them as a high B team here. And of course, I have my S, A, B, C, D, F. F is worst teams in football. D is not the worst teams, but they're not really in contention at all. C is they're borderline kind of in contention for the playoffs, but they're not quite there yet. B is like wild card-ish. A is division winners, but not quite Super Bowl contenders. And then S is like for sure, no doubt about it, lock and loaded, best teams in football. All right. Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, I am down on the Baltimore Ravens, specifically because I don't know if their defense can play as well as they did last year. I think that's going to be very difficult for them to do. And I don't know if their offense, with now new tape on Lamar Jackson, people understanding what they did last year, knowing how to play against it, knowing how to scheme against it. But I do have trust in John Harbaugh. I do think that their defense will be good, just not quite as great. I'm going to place them in the C category as a possible B team, but I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back this year. Just they lost a few players that I would have liked them not to lose, like CJ Mosley, Zadarius Smith, but I think they're still going to be competitive, just not the way that they were last year. The Carolina Panthers, this is heavily dependent on Cam Newton. And the Carolina Panthers, I think they have some really good things going for them. Of course, Christian McCaffrey looking like a friggin' stud on Instagram. They have an improved offensive line. Defensively, I think they improved their defensive line. They have still a question in the secondary, but I think overall the Panthers are an interesting offense because a lot of their players, especially their big-time players, are very young. I'm going to put them as a B team because I think they can contend for the playoffs. I could certainly see a scenario where the Carolina Panthers will make the playoffs, but I can also see a scenario where they are where they were last year if Cam gets injured or specific big-time players like Luke Kuechly or Christian McCaffrey go down. Chicago Bears, you guys are kind of low on them. It's actually kind of surprising. I am still pretty high on the Bears. I'm going to place them as an A team. I don't quite see them as like, I don't know if I can see them. See, this is the thing. I think this is where I differentiate from you, Dylan, is I place them in the A, but I can see them as an S team. I'm just not like fully confident to put them as an S team because I just don't think like losing Vic Fangio is a big deal to me. I know they got Chuck Pagano back, but I do feel like that is a loss. And then losing a big player like their slot corner, Bryce Callahan, who was so good for them last year, and he left to Denver. That's a big loss. But I do think their offense is going to be better. I think their defense might regress just a smidge. I don't think they'll be like the best defense in the league, but they'll be in the top 5. But offensively, I think they'll get better with Mitch Trubisky another year in Nagy's system. So that's where I have them in an A plus. I would say an A plus.
Okay.
The Cincinnati Bengals, I don't want to give them the full-on hate of the F because, like, I still think they have a lot of talented players. So I'm going to say they're a D. Like, I don't know if they're quite bad enough to be a top 5 pick in the league because I still think that Andy Dalton can win some games in the NFL. They still have A.J. Green, Joe Mixon. They improved their offensive line. Their linebacking core is really weak, but they do have a good defensive line, and William Jackson's very good at corner. They have some playmakers. They have Geno Atkins, so I'm going to put them in the D category. They're not terrible enough to be the #1 pick in football, in my opinion. The Cleveland Browns, okay, everybody wants me to put them in the S category, all right? But I'm going to put them in the A category. They're a team that I have very high hopes for. I could see them as a top 4 team in the AFC, and that's where I currently place them. They're definitely talented enough to be there. My legitimate only question about the Cleveland Browns at this point in time is their coach. Is Freddie Kitchens going to be able to manage these personalities and get the best out of this football team and this talent? That's my biggest question. The Dallas Cowboys. Whew. Where do I put them, Dylan? Where do I put them? Okay, obviously, I'm going to put them in the F category because they're the Dallas Cowboys. No, just kidding. No. I'm going to put them in the – I think they're on the same area where the Bears are. I think they're an A-plus team. I actually placed them quite high in terms of the defensive rankings. I think I put them in the top 3 in football, which a lot of people kind of got mad at me for that, but it is what it is. I think their defense is very good. And the #1 thing about this team is now that they have that legitimate #1 target, as we saw going down the stretch for Dak Prescott, he played a lot better. He's a lot more confident. They have more balance on offense. I'm excited to see what they can do with the new offensive system. And the other thing is this team is one of the most well-oiled in terms of they have chemistry. Like a lot of teams in the NFL, they're flipping a lot of parts. They're flipping a lot of different players here and there. But the Cowboys, their core has stayed the same for the past 3 or 4 seasons. And I think that's going to finally pay off this season as one of the top teams in the NFC. The Denver Broncos, I'm not as high on them as Kevol. They're certainly not one of the worst teams in football, but I would say they are a D team mostly because I'm still not trusting their offensive line. I still don't think they have a lot of weapons, and pretty much just their offense in general. Joe Flacco, he's Joe Flacco. You're not going to get this resurgence and this 2012 playoff Joe Flacco for a full season, maybe a few games. I really like their running back core with Freeman and Lindsey, of course, my man Lindsey. But they have no receivers if Emmanuel Sanders is injured. Courtland Sutton's okay, but he needs to prove a lot. And their defense is really, really talented, but I still think they lack depth. So I'm going to go deep. Plus, Vic Fangio, side point, great quote. I'm just going to put that out there. Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, I'm higher on than most people this season. I see them as an A team. I don't quite see them as a Super Bowl contender, but they are an A team, baby, because they have Aaron Rodgers and the best defense Aaron Rodgers has had since the Super Bowl win in 2010. I'm going to say that much.
Interesting. Okay, higher on them than
the Houston Texans. Yeah, I'm higher on the Packers, but I'm lower on the Texans. I have them as a C team.
Ooh.
The reason why is because I don't think that Deshaun Watson is going to be able to take the hits consistently season after season. They arguably have the worst offensive line in football, and that's not a good thing. I think they got worse in the secondary throughout the offseason, and I think Kevo was right. There's questions about Jadeveon Clowney. There's also questions about their coach, whether he's going to be able to lead them to the promised land of where they want to be. I like Deshaun Watson, but I'm not sure he's the elite quarterback like Brady, Rodgers, and these sort of guys, Mahomes, that can carry a team without really having a lot of support. He's very, very good, but I don't think he's quite there yet. So I'm going to have them as a C team around the Ravens. I can certainly see them making the playoffs. I can also see them going 5-11 if some really bad stuff happens, like injuries, because they don't have a lot of depth. The Giants are, of course, in the F category. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm beating on the Giants consistently, but I just have to. I mean, Eli Manning in his first practice went 2 for 6 and threw an interception.
1 for 6.
1 for 6. Okay, sorry. I was wrong. But then there was a photo where Daniel Jones is sitting beside him or standing beside him, and he looks exactly like Eli. And Eli, he's pointing into the secondary saying, okay, watch, Daniel. This is how you throw an interception. All right, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings I have placed in the C category as well. I know the Vikings are extremely talented in their starting roster, but I still have concerns about their depth. I also have concerns. Xavier Rhodes wasn't very good last year, and that's kind of something that I will be talking about tomorrow in a video. There's also their secondary, I don't think is as good as it once was a couple years ago. I know that they have like the names there still, but I don't know if the talent is the same. Their defensive line, like Everson Griffin regressed last year, and nobody really talked about that. Offensive line is still a concern, even though I think it's a little bit better. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a major year, but I just don't know if this team is quite in a tough division. Like, I don't know if they have that, what it takes to win this division or make the playoffs. I think they'll be a competitive team like these two other teams in their category, but I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. Okay, the Detroit Lions. I actually am higher on the Lions than I am the Vikings. I could see the Lions in the playoffs this year.
Wow,
I have them in the B category. The reason why is I know that people are down on Matt Patricia, but I actually think he's built quite an interesting defense that is really underrated. And when you look at the defensive line specifically, I think they're like really, really underrated. I might even make a video about how underrated the Lions defensive line is. They're interesting. And I know that they don't have a lot of big names on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they can be very good. And we saw that at times last year, they were pretty good. So offensively, I mean, they have all the talent. Like, they have an offensive line there that's not elite, but it's solid. They have receivers. They have a running back now if Kerryon Johnson can stay healthy. And Matt Stafford, I believe in. Plus, he's a better beer chugger than Aaron Rodgers. So I have him in the B category.
There's our second reference to that last night's game.
San Francisco 49ers, I have in the A category.
Hey, come on. This is
okay, I just played with you guys there. But I think that the 49ers are – I know people are going to hate on me. Here come the dislikes. I think they're going to be better than the LA Rams this year.
Wow.
And they had two players on my top 10 underrated list. They have a very interesting, intriguing defense with that really good defensive line. And I think that Richard Sherman, he's going to play a big role in the secondary. Offensively, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think they can be in the top 5 if all things go well.
Wow, this was my biggest discrepancy in teams so far on our list here. Arizona
Cardinals, I want to put them higher, but like I have to still put them here.
Yep.
Like, I think their defense is really underrated. Like, they have some really good players that I like obviously Chandler Jones, Budda Baker, and Swearinger's a solid safety combo. They added Hicks at the linebacking core. They have some good players on defense, and I think their defense will steal them some games as well. But Patrick Peterson being out, that hurts a lot. They might even be a D team if Patrick Peterson is not suspended. And Kyler Murray, I need to see it before I do, but we could be changing our narrative very quickly once we see it. And I still think the targets for Kyler Murray are under, the average rate of other teams. So I'm going to have them at the F category. The Dolphins, again, I'm sorry, Flores. I'm sorry, Durkant, but F. I'm not a believer in Josh Rosen either. So it's not like he really turned my notion of what this team is going to be. The Buffalo Bills.
I'm interested to see where this one goes here.
Oh, okay. So they're not here.
No.
All right.
Can't be.
They're not here. All right. They are not here. All right. They're here.
Wow.
Okay? The Buffalo Bills are a borderline playoff team to me. Okay. They improved a lot. But the thing that I really like about what Bean did and what McDermott has done is they've kind of surrounded Josh Allen with a lot of talent that also doesn't break their cap or break kind of what they're going for in a team. They added a lot of good pieces on the offensive line. I think their offensive line will be way better. Their defense obviously added Oliver in the inside and was already at top. They were already second last year in terms of giving up the least amount of yards in the league. And I think they'll be a little bit better because they have a little bit better talent. And yeah, I think their offense is just going to take some strides forward and win them some more games. And being on the back of Josh Allen, hopefully he can play a little bit more. I think he played 13 games last year. Hopefully he can play the full 16. And I could see them around the 8-8 to 10-6, possibly. They might be, I think they're going to land somewhere in there. But I see them go ahead.
Sorry, they did go 6-7 with them last year, and they weren't very good. So they did improve quite a bit.
Yep. The Indianapolis Colts, I have not here. All right. Not here either. I have them. I'm starting to question what I want to do with my S category. Okay. I think that the Indianapolis Colts are on the same level as the Bears and the Cowboys. Okay. I still need to see them beat the Patriots. Can I say that?
That's fair.
Plus, they weren't really relatively close to beating the Chiefs last year. No, I know they got better and they're young and they're going to grow, but also teams are going to know better of what they did last year. Plus, they played a really weak schedule last year. I think they're going to be a top 3 team in the AFC. I just don't think they're there yet in terms of the Super Bowl winner.
But you're still on the boat of the Bears Cowboys area.
They're still an A+ team, and I still think they have the chance to go to the AFC Championship. But I just don't see once they play like one of those really good teams that I don't know if they can really contend. Like they're very solid, very good everywhere, but I just don't think they have that. They're just not there yet. I think it might be a year or two before we're saying, okay, the Colts, this is truly their year where they should win the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think this is the year yet. I think they're a year or two away from that.
Dirk Kent just came in the video and he's saying your list is trash.
Of course he is. All right. The Oakland Raiders. I'm the only one that knows. I'm thinking ahead of everyone in the chat. See, this is what they don't understand. Is I'm ahead of everybody before it's actually happened. No. And then people are going to scroll back a couple months from now. They're going to be like, Mitch was exactly right. That's exactly
they're going to be like, Dylan, this guy was so good at it. All right, Raiders. What do you got?
The Raiders. All right. The Raiders, I have in the D category. They're not bad enough to be a top 5 pick. They're not good enough to be a playoff team. And I don't know. They might contend somewhat. But I don't. It depends a lot on Derek Carr. I think Kevil's right. It depends a lot on Derek Carr. Their offense on paper, very talented. Their defense, still a huge question mark. Their defense is still bottom 5 in the league, in my opinion. But if their offense can get it going, if John Gruden can ignite the Raiders, I can't see this team going on a run and, doing something special this year. But I'm just not sure if I have any confidence in that, to be honest.
All right.
The Philadelphia Eagles, they are my number 1 team in the NFC, so I must place them in the S category.
There we go. There's the first one.
There's the first one, baby! And I'm not going to have many more. So the Philadelphia Eagles, I just have extreme confidence in this entire organization from the top down, from their ownership to Howie Roseman to Doug Peterson to the quarterback in Carson Wentz. As long as he's healthy again, that's the biggest question mark with the team, honestly. And I think they have probably the best talent in the league in terms of every position is stacked, loaded, ready to go. And I think they're once again a team that can reach the Super Bowl and can win the Super Bowl. So that's why they're in the S category. The Jacksonville Jaguars is one that I constantly fight with in my head. I don't know. There is this thing in my head where I'm like, I want the Jaguars to be this, but I just don't know if they are this. So that being said, I am going to place the Jacksonville Jaguars as a D team.
Wow.
Maybe a little bit lower than some people.
Wow, even lower than me. Interesting.
Yeah, there's so many questions. Their offense is completely average to me. They don't have anything that makes you say, we need to defend this constantly. Maybe Leonard Fournette can be that, and their running game can be that once again, like it was a couple seasons ago. But we didn't see anything from them last year in terms of that. Their offensive line, I still think they have a little bit of a concern at tackle, even though they tried to address that in the draft. We don't know if that's going to really work out. I don't know how Nick Foles is going to play outside of Philadelphia. Their receivers are, underrated, but they're not anyone that's going to break the doors off of any team. And then you have the defense that I think is really talented, but also we've already seen Talvin Smith leave. What if a guy like Jalen Ramsey goes down? This defense doesn't have a lot of depth. It's very top heavy, doesn't have a lot of depth. I'm concerned about the wear and tear of this season going on the Jaguars, and I don't have a lot of faith in Doug Marrone. So I place them in the D category. I still think they have strides to rebuilding this team to where they want them to be, and that's kind of sad because they had a lot of potential 2 seasons ago where Mr. Blake Bortles got in the way. The Kansas City Chiefs are where I think a lot of people are going to be intrigued where I put them. They are not obviously not here. They are not here. They are not here. They are not here. They're here, okay?
That's what I thought you were going to go with.
I don't think the Chiefs this is pure respect for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I do think their defensive line got better, but their secondary is so bad, guys. So bad. Like every team if they're playing the Browns, the Colts, the Patriots, these teams are going to rip that secondary apart, and they're going to have to win a shootout against every one of these teams in the AFC at the upper echelon. So and I don't know, like Tyreek Hill, without him, are they really going to be able to score 35 points a game? It's a big question mark. And I think the Chiefs are still very talented, very good coach, very good quarterback. That's why they're in the A, but they're not quite a Super Bowl contender because the things I stated. The LA Chargers, they're still right beside the Chiefs. They have still a better overall roster than the Chiefs do. I think they have a better defense. They have very comparable talent on offense. They just don't have Patrick Mahomes, and they don't have Andy Reid. So Mike Williams, one guy I think is going to really have a big season for them. Tyrell Williams is gone. He's going to be asked to do more, and I think he could contend with – I think both him and Keenan Allen will have 1,000 yards and big seasons. Looking at their defense, I think their whole defense is loaded, especially their secondary. I really like what they have at safety, corner. Their defensive line is better because they have more big boys in the middle, so they should be better against the run this year. I like the Thomas Davis addition. I think they arguably got better in terms of talent. It's just a matter of if Phillip Rivers can maintain his level of play. That's the biggest question. The LA Rams. Sorry, go ahead.
Gus Bradley, too. I think if he's going to be stubborn and with his speed,
I agree.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Chargers, I said it on my defense rankings list. A lot of people say they're a top-tier defense, but because of Gus Bradley being very stingy in what he wants to do defensively, it doesn't allow them to be that, in my opinion. Okay, the Rams. The Rams are, I think they are, this is interesting, because I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender this year, but I do think they're a team that can compete for the playoffs. But I actually have them right now as a team that's going to miss the playoffs. So I'll be bold enough to put them in the B category. So, going off my predictions, I have the Rams as a team that's missing the playoffs. People are going to hate this, whatever. Jared Goff, system quarterback. He was basically a lot of times last year against the Bears, against the Patriots, against the Eagles. When forced in certain situations, he didn't look that great. Todd Gurley, still huge question. Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? Offensive line, a lot worse than last year. Defensively, not a lot of depth on that defense. A lot of old players. So not extremely confident in this team. I do really like Sean McVay and Wade Phillips, and that's the reason why I still see them that they can be obviously a playoff team, but I don't think that they're anywhere near being a contender this year. I'm sorry. My
issue is I cannot see the Bills and the Rams in the same category. I can't put them together.
I'm sorry, bro.
I can't.
I'm projecting. Okay, so obviously the Rams, I think the Rams are like Atlanta. Can I say that?
That's fair. It's fair. Yeah. It's fairer than the Bills compared.
If you really want me to separate these, okay, this is the category so far. Eagles, Bears, Cowboys, Colts, Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Next category, Browns, Packers, 49ers, Chiefs. Next category, Atlanta, Rams. Next category, Carolina, Detroit, Buffalo. Does that make more sense?
It's fair. Yes. I think
there's a lot of subcategories, but
yes, subcategories.
Yeah. All right. The New England Patriots, obviously they are an F. Okay, so they suck. I mean, Tom Brady's terrible. Bill Belichick's awful. It's not like they got better at linebacker or, they had a really good draft. They have maybe the best secondary in the league. Their offensive line is really good too. They lost Gronk. But they drafted N'Keal Harry at wide receiver. Sony Michel should have a big year this year. They added Damian Harris to the running back core in the draft, who I think could be kind of sneaky. And if Josh Gordon comes back, look out. But they're an F team, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
The New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are going to be in the A category. I think they are a team that could potentially miss the playoffs. But I'm not quite willing to put them there yet because I'm just not willing to put them there yet. Is that okay?
Your list. I mean,
Drew Brees, Sean Payton.
Drew
Brees and Sean Payton. That's the reason why I'm not willing to put them there yet. Alvin Kamara. I think Jared Cook's going to do big things in this offense. Offensive line's still good. I think the defense could regress though, so look out for that. New York Jets.
Can you move your Patriots? It's bugging me
out. New York Jets. Okay, obviously they are a D team. No, I don't know if they're a C team either. They're a D team. This is because Sam Darnold. This is because their offensive line still needs some work. This is because their defense in certain areas is still a little weak, but they do have some talent. I'm not quite a believer in Adam Gase. And the biggest thing with the Jets is I think their organization right now is in flux. Like they don't have a plan. So I feel like that's going to kind of trickle down to their team. And I know sometimes the organization cannot impact the team and play on the field, but sometimes it does. And I think that will be the case for the Jets this year. And I'm not the biggest believer in Sam Darnold. Maybe if I was, I'd have him maybe even as high as B, but I'm not. So D. Pittsburgh Steelers. They are a playoff team. So I'm going to put them in the A.
You are front-loading this A group.
Yes, the A group, baby. That's because I have so many different subcategories, Dylan. Don't you know my subcategories? The Pittsburgh Steelers are in my A category. I will say I do have the Steelers in the playoffs right now. I think their defense is being overlooked. I think their front seven is a very quality, especially after adding Devin Bush in the draft. Tomlin, still a trusted coach that can get wins in the league, even though I don't think he's one of the upper echelon coaches. Ben Roethlisberger, if you have him, you're at least getting 9 wins. So Steelers there in the A category.
Even though they had 8 wins last year. But
Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are in the C category for me. I think they're a team that is going to be like the Vikings. I think they have a chance to be a team, and like the Texans, like the Ravens. All these teams have a chance to make the playoffs because, well, the Seahawks have Russell Wilson, they have Bobby Wagner, they have Pete Carroll, but I just don't think this is one of the years where they do it. I think they're going to regress a little bit. They've obviously losing Frank Clark is big, and I think their offense without Doug Baldwin, even though I know he's hurt a lot last year, I just don't see their passing attack being overly efficient. I think they're going to have to be heavily reliant on the run game again. I don't know if that's a good thing. I think their division got a lot better. But again, it's hard not to trust Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, but I'm going to have them in the C category for now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I have them in the F category, actually. I've been going down and down and down with where I see the Bucs this year because honestly, like the Bucs are obviously right beside the Patriots in terms of quality of football team. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, I really like their new coaching staff. Don't get me wrong, but still a huge question in Jameis Winston, even though I like Winston more than probably both the guys that are here with me. They lost talent on offense. They lost Deshaun Jackson. They lost Humphreys, which they had a great offense last year. Their offensive line is not good. They don't have a starting NFL running back, in my opinion. Peyton Barber's fine, I guess. Defensively, their defensive line lost their best player. They added Ndamukong Suh, but they basically replaced Gerald McCoy. So, yeah, whatever. Linebacker core is really good. Secondary is right there with the Chiefs. Really, really bad. So, maybe their scheme improves them, but I see them as an F team right now. Like the Cardinals, though, I think they're in the Cardinals category more so than the Dolphins and the Giants, where they're a team that could prove me wrong. But I just don't see it this year. Maybe a year or two down the road, but not this year. The Tennessee Titans, I have in the B category. I don't like Marcus Mariota as a starting NFL quarterback, and sorry?
So this is higher than I was expecting. Interesting.
Yeah, I just think the Titans are really talented. I mean, I don't see an area on their team that's really a weakness. I mean, they improved their offensive line with Roger Saffold. They improved their receiving core with Adam Humphries. They have good running backs. I really like Mike Vrabel. I think the only question is Marcus Mariota. Their defense is already good, and they have a plethora of underrated players on the defense. They have a good secondary. They have good scheme on defense. It's Marcus Mariota. If they replace Marcus Mariota with Matt Stafford, The Titans are 11-5 playoff team, pretty good. Like that's the difference for me, even with just upgrading to Matt Stafford compared to Marcus Mariota. If you give them Cam Newton, they might be in the AFC Championship. Like that's where I see the Titans. So I don't know. I think it's up to Marcus to really get the full potential out of this team. The Redskins, I have them in the D category. I don't think they're one of the worst teams in the league. And I think some fans are kind of, they're always in the comment section saying they're underrated. I don't know, guys. I mean, the secondary is still a lot of concerns. Defensive line, front seven, still very talented. Like they have some pieces there on defense and they have a good defensive coordinator, but their offense is just one of the least talented in the NFL. And of course, I'm going to finally move my Patriots up to the S category to finish off my list as a Super Bowl contender. That is my list. Dilly Vanilli.
So we have two teams that are making the Super Bowl. I mean, of course, that's how it works. But you have those two. Yeah. Okay, so if I'm going to go off of what you have here. So you have your Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you have your second tier, which is Bears, Cowboys, Colts, Chargers.
Correct.
You got everybody else in the A tier as a third tier.
Yes, that's the Browns, Packers, 49ers, Chiefs, Saints, and Steelers. Okay.
And then B tier, is anybody included in that? Well, actually, I guess not. It would be Falcons.
The B sub tier is Atlanta and the Rams.
And then everybody else in B tier. Okay.
And then the next B tier, and then the C tier, and then the D tier, and then the F tier.
Okay, so we had 1, 2, 3. We had 10 teams in the A tier. Technically, if we had all of them together, that's enough teams to make the playoffs. I guess not all of them are going to because that's impossible. I think there's like 5 AFC teams and 7 NFC. I think. Not sure. Let's count.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the 12 best teams that if it was a top 12, they would all make the playoffs. But obviously, just counting it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, we have 6 and 6, I think. Am I wrong?
We do.
Oh, there you go. Those are my playoffs.
I actually have 6 and 6 in S and A. Like in my S category, I have 4, the Patriots, Cowboys, Eagles, Colts. And then in the A category, I have the Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Rams. And then I have the Chiefs, Chargers, Ravens, Steelers. So kind of in the same way.
Yeah, so if I had to place it in like a playoff format, I would go Eagles first bye, Patriots first place and bye. Then you got I would say at the moment, I would have the Bears as the second seed.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the third seed, I would have the San Francisco 49ers. 4 seed, I would have the Saints. And then 5 seed, Cowboys. 6 seed, I would have who's the other team? Saints?
Packers.
Oh, Packers. Yeah, there we go. And
yeah,
then,
I guess.
Yeah, AFC would be Patriots and Colts. And then 3 would be tough. Chargers. 4 would be Browns. 5 would be Chiefs. 6 would be Steelers.